The United States lost an icon and pioneer for women's rights when Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg died from pancreatic cancer on September 18th. She was 87. She was nominated to the Supreme Court by Bill Clinton in 1993 and was the second woman appointed to the court, where she served 27 years. RBG was a legal, cultural, and feminist icon in the 80s and coined the nickname Notorious RBG for her fierce commitment in ensuring equality for women and people of color. To say the least, RBG was a badass, and so we quickly wanted to point out some of the many things that she did to make her so damn extraordinary. First off, she studied law at Harvard in the 50s after she had her first child.
Wow.
Her daughter was 1 when she started school at Harvard. Mm-hmm. And while she was at Harvard, she was one of 9 women in the class of 500 students, and she became the first member of the Harvard Law Review. She was Columbia Law School's first female tenured professor. In the 70s, she litigated sex discrimination cases for the American Civil Liberties Union and was an instrumental member and person in launching the ACLU's Women's Rights Project in 1973. In 1996, the United States versus Virginia case, she wrote the majority opinion that it is unconstitutional for schools funded by taxpayer dollars to bar women. So she essentially made it easier for women to get into public schools. She paved the way for the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, which allowed women to apply for credit cards and mortgages without a male cosigner. She was a crucial vote on the current court to keep Roe v. Wade. She pushed to protect pregnant women in the workplace because she was discriminated as a pregnant woman when she was working. She was also a key vote in granting same-sex marriages.
I mean, it's crazy when, like, someone in that, like, light, like in politics or in legal or whatever, that system, like, becomes a pop culture icon, right? Because, like, a lot of times, I mean, you respect people in those roles, but you don't necessarily, like, look up to them. And, like, this is someone who paved the way for so many, not just people in roles like that, but paved the way just for women and people in the LGBTQ plus community just in general. Like, I mean, her impact is huge.
Yes, I agree. And it's also incredible because she was pretty progressive all the way. I mean, she was married, but her husband was the cook because she's a notorious terrible cook. And, like, they moved to Washington because she got a great job opportunity. Like, even back then at those times, like, he wasn't like, well, I'm the man. Like, I need to be doing this and, like, whatever. Like, he supported her. And it's just crazy how, like, she appeals to young people. And I feel like even, like, kids that are 16 or, like, 18 or younger than us, like, know who she is. And it's not just because of the shirts that have, like, Notorious RBG on them with a crown. Mm-hmm. It's because she is woke. And she, like, just is so relatable. And it's like, I agree to your point, a lot of people don't know who's even on the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. They don't know the 9 justices, but everyone knows Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
1,000%. I mean, I fall in that category. I couldn't name all 9, but I could name Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you know? So it's a huge loss. And just, I mean, the impact, which we'll of course get into a little bit, just the impact of her having to be replaced is going to be absolutely insane. But it's true. I mean, absolute icon. It's sad. But one thing I did want to say, because I thought this was just, like, the sweetest thing ever, I saw, like, the last letter that, like, her husband wrote her before he died, because I think he died back in 2010, and it was just, like, I'm so proud of you, like, to watch you reach the top of the legal system has been nothing but, like, incredibly, like, heartwarming or something, and I'm just, like, that's amazing, because obviously, like, she paved the way she was one of, like you said, one of only a certain number of women who was even in her 500 person class. And it's just like, one of 9. And it's just like, you often see men in heterosexual relationships with women kind of there's a weird power dynamic. And especially I can imagine back then. So just knowing her husband was so supportive, it's just like, I love that. Like, I don't know, I love relationships and I loved seeing that.
Since her passing, Ginsburg became the first woman and the first Jewish person to lie in the state in the U.S. Capitol. Now her death has shaken up the country, not just because we lost a hero, but because we lost her so close to the election. Now, there's a vacancy on the Supreme Court with less than 40 days until November 3rd, which means President Trump has the opportunity to appoint his third judge to the nation's highest court. He would likely replace her with a conservative pick and attempt to solidify a conservative majority on the Supreme Court for decades. Just before she died, RBG told her granddaughter this, quote, "My most reverent wish is that I will not be replaced until a new president is installed."